I'd like to do is turn things back over to you, Steve Farrell. And if you could, tell us a little bit about the genesis of the Conscious Business Declaration, what you and the Alliance partners felt was needed in the world, and sort of how the Conscious Business Declaration came to be. Steve?
You bet. Well, thank you, Steve. Years ago, we looked at these models, these business models that were out there in conscious commerce and natural capitalism and others. And they focus on people, planet, and profit, 3 Ps, which is goodness. And these organizations are our partners, and the B Corp also. But the thing that's left out is is consciousness itself, because consciousness itself says that everything is interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent, right? We're all a part of one thing, and we can call that one thing anything that we want. In humanities team, we call it the divine, but we can call it life, or we can call it universe. We can call it anything that we want. But you can't leave consciousness out of this equation when you talk about business. At least you can't if you're looking at creating real change in the world. Because real change in the world requires that we look at the timeless truth, this ancient truth, that everything is interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent, that everything's a part of one thing, that everything is sacred. And of course, that's the thing that's the game-changing thing. That's the windshield for business. When we're looking out of the windshield of business and we see that everything is sacred, then of course we take care of people, planet, and profit. But there's more than that. It's reflected in some of these comments that were made in the chat window of changing consciousness, of raising consciousness, that the thing that's missing is love, that was said by a number of people in the chat window. That love is the thing that's needed. And love is a natural thing that we feel and express when we see the sacred in life. So if we go back about 3 years, Humanities Team, which is a nonprofit, we're a 501c3. My background is business. The whole way I came into consciousness is through being a part of organizations that were becoming conscious, first in Silicon Valley and then here in Humanities Team. And we said, in a sense, that we could use train as a metaphor, and the lead car on the train is business, right? Because the economy, our paychecks, our income, everything comes from our workplace, right? So it's really critical that lead car on the train that creates the economy, that creates our paychecks, that is pulling us in a direction that is fulfilling, compassionate, and sustainable, right? And once again, even looking at the models that we love the most, I'll just throw out my own personal ones, B Corp. Consciousness is not in that model. We're partnered, by the way, with B Corp. B Corp is, they're terrific. There's a lot of rigor and depth to their model. And particularly in the area of these first 3 Ps, people, planet, profit, the rigor and depth that they've created to go down into a business and really see that it's aligning with these things is awesome. And we may use their processes ourselves. But consciousness isn't in there, what we call presence, the 4th P. And once again, as we looked at this, we said, all of the personal development work that we're doing with Global Oneness Day and Living in Oneness Summit and 12 Spheres of Life and all of these things, that's not going to get the job done. It's not going to create the future that we want here in the world if business doesn't become conscious. So then we tested our thesis, and we reached out first to Urban Laszlo, who leads the Club of Budapest in Europe. And we said, Urban, do you see what we see? That there are these business models that are pretty awesome, focusing on people, planet, and profit, but consciousness is not in the model. And he said, I do see what you see. So then we reached out to the Sanji family in Japan that runs the Goi Peace Foundation, because business is global. And if you're going to do something with business, you better have a global footprint. And we asked the Sanji family the same thing. And they said, we see the same thing. We don't see consciousness in business. And then Urban Laszlo's son, who is a leader at the Fowler Center for Business out of Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, we reached out to him because he's directly involved with business in many progressive ways. I came up with the same answer. We're not there. We don't have the business model for the 21st century and beyond that creates this fulfilling and compassionate and sustainable world. So, so in a sense, the lead car on the train was pulling us in the wrong direction. So we said, okay, well, if there's not a model for business, a standard for business in the 21st century that includes consciousness, then what does that standard look like? What would it say? How do we define it? And then we spent over a year working together to create these simple 7 little principles in the Conscious Business Declaration. And I'm guessing you all have seen it and signed it. We probably are putting it in the window. But the 7 principles there are the fruit of over a year's work. And even Ken Wilber came in to offer a hand because the preamble was influenced by him. The preamble says, as a global community of business leaders, we are committed to developing the awareness and the skills needed to consciously evolve our organizations in alignment with these principles. And I won't read the whole declaration. I think we're probably all well familiar with it, but I'll just read the first principle, which gets at consciousness. It says, we are one, and one is capitalized, with humanity and all of life. Business and all institutions of the human community are integral parts of a single reality, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. In truth, from our perspective, this timeless truth or ancient truth that we're all one, interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent, all of our spheres of life must be informed by this, if that's ultimate reality, if that's what truth is, right? In this case, our focus is business because of the urgency of the situation. We've got a lead car on a train that's pulling us rapidly in a direction that in some businesses are in the business of GMO. Some create financial products that, if you've seen the movie The Big Short, have created disaster. Some are in the animal farming business where we're not treating life as sacred. Some are in the natural resources business. And even if we're not in one of these segments of the business, if you look at the principles there in the declaration, where we call for economic, social, and environmental transparency, that in many cases we don't have that. So this simple little declaration with its 7 principles and preamble, we believe just defines how we can manifest business to pull the train now in a direction that creates this fulfilling, compassionate, and sustainable world for ourselves, for our kids, and for future generations. And candidly, I'm a business person by background. Steve Melville is a business person by background. In the chat window, we could see our profiles. Many of us are from business. This is, I think probably, I probably shouldn't speak for all of us, but business got a little off course here, didn't it? Just pulling in the direction of just with this mission and focus on financial profits almost exclusively, this Darwinian type focus. And I say that as a business person, that as we go through this course and then the foundation courses, the thing that we talk about, and I know that we all see in our everyday experiences, employees are not motivated by just driving the top line and bottom line, revenue and profit growth. Millennials certainly are not, the young, but even beyond millennials, our age group too. I've run large businesses. And where the focus is just on growing the financial results, you don't get the best out of your team. It's not that motivating. And so the great irony is that when the business transforms or starts as a conscious business, with real heart, where we're really looking at the sacred, where we're working with employees in a culture of oneness, which we'll talk about extensively during the conscious business curriculum, and where the governance structure supports a culture of oneness, the core values, where there's a real heart-centered type approach, where it's a truly conscious business, and it's conscious because of our interior decisions. The business becomes much more financially successful. Now, we would never create a conscious business just to make it more financially successful. But the great irony is, and if you look at Tesla based in the United States, the market cap of this company just went past Ford and GM. Or in Europe, Unilever, the great conscious company there. Look at the market cap of this company, and Paul Pullman and CEO, and the acquisitions they're making, where the acquisitions are sustainable, eco packaging, the composts. So the package that you're receiving at your door with your book or products that you've ordered can be compost. Where you've got a real conscious company. I live in Boulder, and there are many conscious companies around here. So there's a halo effect. Not only do you draw great employees and customers love your business, and you create this eco cycle with partners that's off the charts when it's conscious, but the financial results also are extraordinary. So one of the things that we share is that this evolutionary tornado has put down. The baby has already been given birth. Consciousness is out in the world. And it's growing, and there's no stopping it now. And this tornado is overturning business models. And what we believe, and we can say this from business results that we can observe today, are that these future business leaders of the Teslas and the Unilevers and the organic farmers and so many others, you probably, many of your own businesses are conscious and are growing. So that they will inherit the business earth. And these businesses that focus just on financial profit will be upended. And it's not that we're wishing that on them. It's just the way evolution works.